All right, so this next lesson is going to be going over factoring polynomials, and this is a review. This is something that you did about probably in at least the way we follow the curriculum here, about 3/4 of the way into your Algebra 1 class. It's going to be a little foggy for some of you because it's not something you just like regularly do. Um, so we're going to spend a couple days in real class time reviewing this and going over this and doing some examples and making sure that we understand it before we move forward and start reviewing some of the other concepts and taking them a little further. All right. So so hopefully the idea is that by the time you've watched all the videos and gone through the lesson that you can factor polynomial expressions using distributive property grouping. And remember, a polynomial expression is just, something like x squared plus 2x, or something where you have more than one term that involves, numbers and variables and exponents and all of that. And we call each of those a monomial, right? And then a polynomial is more than one, and they're being added or subtracted. Okay, so you should be able to factor those by the time you're done watching this video, and you'll be able to factor certain kinds. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to start with binomials. So we're going to start with just two terms. So we'll using greatest common factor. We'll move into these other things that are listed here. So let's get started. So to review quickly is we're going to be using the distributive property, except we're going to be using it backwards, right? So what you're used to doing with the distributive property is something like this, where you get 3x plus 7, and then you distribute this both ways, right? And you get 3x plus 21, right? Positive 3 times x is 3x. Positive 3 times positive 7 is 21. And so what we're going to do is we are going to work backwards to express this as a product of a monomial factor and a polynomial factor, all right? So you will be starting with something that looks like this and then being asked, okay, how do I factor that? Well, you look for something called the greatest common factor, right? You're going to look for what do these things have in common that I can pull out of both of them. That's what a greatest common factor is. So I would look at both of these and I would say, okay, well, there's an x in this one, but there's not an x in this one. So I can't pull an x out, but there's a 3 in this one, and I can get 3 out of this evenly, right? So I could factor out a 3, and then you finish, what do I have to multiply by 3 to make it 3x? I'd have to multiply x, and plus, and then what do I have to multiply by 3 to get it to 21? Well, 7. Right? And so it's just a matter of kind of busting things up into factors, realizing this is 3 times x, and this is 3 times 7. And so you pull that common factor out. That goes out front, and then what's left here between your x and your 7 goes, this whole thing gets moved into the parentheses, and then your sign, right, which is right here, is what you would use over there. All right, so that's kind of what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing it with binomials to start with, and then we're going to do it with just polynomials. So more than 2 terms, 3, 4 terms, right? But it's basically always going to be working from the premise that we first start by finding a greatest common factor. Okay, so we will pause the video here, and we will see you in the next one.